Good evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Thompson here in the TV9 newsroom. I'm going to give you an update about the upcoming winter storm that is approaching the area. We're still about 12 hours away from precipitation starting in eastern Iowa, so there is still time to make some preparations and as well as make plans for your Thursday, how the winter storm may affect it. And we're going to take a look at all of that, including snow totals, latest timing, as well as steps you can take to be safe during this particular winter storm. So we'll go ahead and go to graphics to look at the view from our Cedar Rapids City Cam. It is quiet right now, but it is cloudy. We do have overcast skies at this hour. One thing to note is that temperatures are pretty warm still ahead of this winter storm that is expected to produce wintry precipitation, largely in the form of snow. We have readings in the upper 30s to low 40s, winds out of the east, which is not necessarily the wind direction you look for temperatures to fall significantly, and as such we're expecting our temperatures to continue to stay pretty warm over the next little while. In fact, temperatures through the day on Thursday near or above freezing in most cases in eastern Iowa. That will be a factor in terms of how much snow that we see as well as how quickly it accumulates. We'll get into that in just a second. For now though, a winter storm warning in effect for areas along and north of Highway 30 in the TV9 viewing area, except for in Clinton and portions of Cedar County where Highway 30 dives a bit to the south. But those areas in pink include cities like Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, Dubuque, as well as Decorah, Fayette, Charles City, lots of areas in the north. Surrounding that, an area in that light purplish color is under a winter weather advisory. That's where lesser snow amounts are expected, and that's the difference between those two, if you didn't know. That is the explanation. A good portion of the area was under a winter storm watch. That has been changed to advisory and warning. You see on the right side of your screen, and the areas in the morning will have the most significant impacts, including to travel and other disruptions to your day. So in terms of activity going on out there this evening, there are some light showers or maybe a few flurries. We've seen a few observations of that across the area, particularly across the north, but in general it's been very low impact if it's even reaching the ground. And that's the reason why roads are great across eastern Iowa. Now, same time tomorrow, we'll be talking about very different things in terms of roads being pretty slick and likely having some hazards. It's this area off here, well off to our southwest, gathering here in Colorado. You can see some moisture gathering along a stationary boundary here, right along the Red River between Oklahoma and Texas. This is all the activity that's going to develop and move to the northeast. So we haven't even really seen the bulk of the activity that's going to move toward us even start. And so that's going to take place over the next 12 hours or so. And on Pinpoint Futurecast, we get rid of that early scattered activity really early this evening into the overnight hours. Going forward is when things start to pick up. By the time you wake up toward 6 or 7 a.m., starting to approach our western counties over toward Marshalltown and Oskaloosa, and spreading to the northeast from there. You can see by about 9, approaching the Interstate 380 corridor, but it will be fighting against a little bit of dry air. That's why that stuff showing up on radar this evening isn't reaching the ground as easily as it will tomorrow once you see it on radar. That's the situation we'll be facing by then. By lunchtime, I think most of the area will be seeing at least some snow falling. It will be light to moderate, even heavy at times, which will be the key for getting that snow to stick to roadways. And that's why I think lunchtime and beyond really is going to be the time where roads will be their slickest. Unfortunately, that does include the evening commute on Thursday. And so that's when I'm expecting things to be the most trouble. That's why we've seen a couple of schools already announce early releases on Thursday rather than cancellations, and I'm sure we'll see more of those. You can get those on kcrg.com. There's a little banner right on the top of the page for closings and delays. In the evening, notice again, 4 o'clock, early part of the evening commute, still snowing. 6 o'clock toward the tail end of it, still snowing at a light and moderate pace. And as the sun sets on Thursday, that's when I think temperatures will drop just a little bit further, get toward that freezing marker just below, and that will give us a shot at snow sticking on paved surfaces a little bit better. Good news is, by about midnight, things start to taper off more significantly. I think most of the overnight hours heading into Friday morning will start to be dry. And so that's when things will really start to move out, and we'll expect a bit of a break. Northerly winds, though, will keep things cool on Friday, so don't expect a big warm-up, at least in the near future. Now, in terms of snowfall amounts, we really haven't changed our thinking since early this morning when we adjusted things a bit. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is where we're at, 3 to 7 inches for the areas in the dark blue. That's along and north of Interstate 80. So down toward the Interstate 80 corridor, probably toward the lower end of that range. To the north, a little bit of that, where things will be just slightly colder. Yeah, we could be talking about amounts that could approach that higher end. 1 to 3 inches for the areas to the south of there, including areas that aren't under a winter weather advisory formally. That's from the National Weather Service, and so we still have snow falling in those areas and accumulating too. So that's something to keep in mind. If you live down toward Washington and Mount Pleasant, you will still see some snow, and some of it could stick and cause slick roadways. Now, it is a somewhat lower confidence forecast than we're used to, about 12 hours out. That's because of the nature of the snow. It will be wet, and because of the warmer temperatures that we have in place. It's going to make it harder for it to stick. So it's going to take a little bit of snowfall rate to overcome that. Heavier snow falling from the sky sticks a little bit faster. And it will stick to grassy surfaces easier than it will paved surfaces. Not to say that it won't stick to pavement at all, but expect the heaviest accumulations on grass, where temperatures, they're a bit more responsive at times to those temperatures. Pavement, likely getting a benefit from sunlight, even through clouds. It does help during the daytime. It's enough to help melt some of that snow as it's falling. And of course, road friction, vehicles traveling on it helps too, and it's been treated. I know a lot of area roads have seen some pre-treating from the Iowa DOT and local road crews too, and so that will help, given those temperatures really close to or above freezing. Now, in terms of what the snow will be like, it's going to be on the wetter end, as mentioned, toward the snowman snow building type, but that also means that if you get a heavier total in your area, it's going to be harder to shovel. So if you find yourself getting into that 4, 5, 6 inch range, make sure to take time doing your shoveling. If you don't have a snow blower or other snow removal device, don't overdo it. That is something that can cause serious health issues. If you have a heart problem, make sure to get some help, or just take multiple breaks while doing it. It does get dangerous at times when the snow gets heavy. Now, in terms of snowfall ranges, we have a pretty wide range this time due to that somewhat lower confidence in our forecasts than usual. And that's because we are encompassing a pretty big area. So 3 to 7, that could be between 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 inches. And the reason why it could vary so much is because even just a small change in what would be the equivalent amount of rainfall could cause a pretty significant change in how much falls. So this is going to be wetter snow. We call 10 to 1, so it's 10 inches of snow to 1 inches of liquid. That's kind of our default snow range. When it's fluffier, it gets a little bit higher, 12 to 1, so you need less liquid to make the same amount of snow. When it gets lower, that's where you need more liquid to make the same amount of snow. So it's going to depend on those temperatures that we have in place, how wet the snow is in terms of how much snow we get. And with a little bit of variation in temperature in different parts of the viewing area, that could cause some differences there. If you want to know how much snow you got, or if you want to give us a snow report, we always welcome them. You can send them to us through KCRG TV9 First Alert Weather Facebook page, weather@kcrg.com. 2 great ways to send those to us. Get a snow stick or a ruler and take several measurements around your yard. Now, if there's blowing and drifting, which we're not really expecting much of tomorrow due to the wet nature, try to avoid those, but take a bunch of measurements, take the average. That's your report. That's how much snow you found in your area. Not too hard to do. And of course, like I said, we really do appreciate your reports. If you want to keep up to date during the day on Thursday, the KCRG TV9 First Alert Weather app is great. In addition to pinpoint Doppler radar on there, you do have access to the Iowa DOT's road conditions through there too. We've got a link on that. Swipe down to it, tap on that. Same story in terms of if you have a picture you want to share. We always welcome those as well. You can do that through the KCRG TV9 First Alert Weather app. Look for the U-News button. It's really close to that road conditions button. Or you can send it on kcrg.com/unews. So let's recap. We've got a winter storm warning in effect for areas along and north of Highway 30 generally. That's where the heaviest snow is going to fall with this storm system. Areas surrounding that, including central and northwest Iowa, as well as northeast Illinois, Wisconsin, if you're doing some traveling that direction. I know we've got boys state basketball going on in Des Moines. They will see snow too. So traveling to and from that on Thursday could be trickier. If you must travel, then give yourself extra time to get there. You won't be able to speed to get there during the snow. Would not be a safe choice. So that is one thing to keep in mind. In terms of pinpoint futurecast, let's go back to that actually and take a look at what's coming. The timing is really toward about mid-morning on Thursday. So the early morning hours will likely stay mostly dry. Just a few light flurries in northeast Iowa still possible. Moving in from southwest Iowa, that's where we see rain and snow start to exist. Right now, it looks like the line between rain and snow is likely going to set up pretty close to the Iowa-Missouri border. So that puts most of the viewing area within the area for snow, not rain. You can see by about 10 o'clock is when it really starts to move in, and then by noon, overspreading the entire area. So lunchtime looks pretty snowy. Through the afternoon on Thursday, it looks pretty snowy too. So make sure to incorporate that into your plans. If you have school events going on in the evening, check back for closings and delays on those. Expecting quite a few of those probably by the time we get toward tomorrow evening. and that's about when snow will start to taper off. Notice by 6 o'clock, the back edge starts to appear here toward Des Moines and areas just west of there. You can see it spanning from Oskaloosa to spreading back toward the Council Bluffs area, but moving to the east from there. And by 9 o'clock, tapering off in our western counties. By midnight, tapering off in our central counties. Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, starting to see the last flakes at that time. And then the tri-state area hangs on for just a little bit longer as the system pivots away from the area. So once again, 3 to 7 inches, the expected snowfall total, long and north of Interstate 80. That's where we're going to see the most here. And to the south, 1 to 3 inches, looking like a good bet there. Fortunately, not a lot has changed, but it will be an impactful storm system as we go forward through the day on Thursday. We'll have additional information tonight on KCRG TV9 News at 10. That's Wednesday night, as well as here on YouTube. We're going to have additional updates during the day on Thursday. Look out for those. Get subscribed, and we'll have those for you too. And of course, keeping you up to date on air, kcrg.com, KCRG TV9 First Alert Weather app. All the tools we have to help keep you safe. Thanks for tuning in this evening. Really appreciate you joining me, and stay safe out there tomorrow.